Oh, my fellow Americans, are we reaping our harvest of greed? Have we built our house on sinking sand? Why are we being ugly Americans?
Good morning, this is CJ Holmes, your founder of Homeowners for Justice and your host today for Livestream, weekdays live. Today is an important day. I want to share with everyone, some major things that are happening, but we must focus on how we can politically shift the winds. We must do that. And so I really want to spend as much time as we can. I want to show you what I've got. I want your feedback. I know that a lot of you watching know way more about securitization and issues in law, so help us collect this information and make it the most powerful thing we can do. I want it fast, it has to be simple, and it's got to be powerful, and it needs to be right. So I want to share with you today what I've got done for the suspicious documents. Of course, we're going to talk about a few things in the news because I think it's imperative that we all start out remembering, seeing exactly what's happening. We don't work in a vacuum. We are working against active opposition and active changes, and things are going on all the time that we need to keep updated with, and I'm not going to try to belabor that, but I want to share that with you and bring that to your attention. So I have made the choice. I start with that. For good or bad, whatever it is. If you don't want to listen to it later and you're on archive, you can skip through these points to either the guest or the meat of the information. And of course, what I love about archive is that you can stop it, you can back it up, you can watch it. I've already had people say, I've watched that show about 5 times. Now I get it. That's the point. That's the point. No person has enough time in the day to answer a million people's questions. But if we can put out a show that a million people can watch and go, wow, I could do that. That's the key. That's the key. Come on. So think with me. So I want to show you a couple of these things. And of course, just real quickly, want to remind you of some events that are coming down the pike. A recorder's rally in front of the recorder's office in San Bernardino County. Hope to get some people talking to me about that on the show. And I know I promised I would do some sessions over the weekend. I apologize. We focused on the internet, and I think I'm pretty well set on the internet. So truly, get your Skype ready. I've had people ask me, please do a training session on Skype. So I will try to do a training session on Skype so that you can watch that. You can get Skype set up. You can get yourself a little webcam. They're only $20-$30. Stick them on your computer. Skype me. Get connected. That way you can come on the show live. That's what we're aiming for. So quickly now, I wanted to just bring you up to date. There is... people are finding us. That's the fabulous part, because it's not me, it's not you, it's us. It's us. Everybody in the country, we're all the people. The people have to organize, the people have to connect. And that's the whole point of this show, is to try to connect with people around the country. So I just wanted to read real quickly. I got an email just this morning from a lady in Louisiana, and she says, I'm fighting the foreclosure on my home here in Baton Rouge. I'm fighting against JP Morgan Chase. Pick a name, pick a mega bank. It's all the same mess. She wants to start a Louisiana chapter of Homeowners for Justice. We just thank you so much for that. We plan to bring her into the network and into the on the directory. I'll get her permission. I haven't even interacted with her yet, because that was just this morning before the show. So we want connections everywhere. If you're watching this from anywhere in the country, please go to the HOFJ organization, click on that site. And if there isn't somebody in your state, your county, that's working with us to connect and bring this information to the local owners in your area, please consider doing that. Step up, because not one of us, I swear, most of us that are now doing this and spending half our days on activism and trying to get this coordinated. We never expected to do this. This wasn't the point of our life, but it is now. Like I said, it's the challenge and the opportunity of our lifetime. I've actually said yesterday, the kid doing my internet work, he's half my age. And I look at him and I say, you know something? I'm doing this so that you can have a better country. And if we all told our kids that, because this is the honest truth, if you and I, facing foreclosure, working with owners that are losing their houses fraudulently, if we don't stop this, who's gonna? Who's gonna stop it? We already know it isn't gonna be our government, our officials, the banks, the servicers. They're not gonna stop it. It's you and me. So we just really anticipate and look forward to anybody and everybody in the country that wants to connect with us. We thank you for your sacrifice and we welcome your service. I was also sent statements by a lot of people. I have so many links I had to just pick and choose just a few today, but I wanted to share this because this was really a fascinating statement of summary, and that is, we now live in a nation where doctors destroy health, lawyers destroy justice, universities destroy knowledge, governments destroy freedom, the press destroys information, religion destroys morals, and our banks destroy the economy. That was written by Chris Hedges, and he's actually evidently written a book, or it says, Welcome to Nazi America, spelled with a K. This is just something amazing that we're seeing the fruition in our life, and it feels like it's come so quickly. It has been a long time coming, however, and we now need to understand that we can fight back, but it's the people, and it's a million people. It's not just 2 or 3, it's not just a few hundred, it's everybody. And this was a very interesting comment, one more comment, done by William Colby. He's the former CIA director, and he says, quote, "The CIA owns everyone of any significance in the major media," unquote. The CIA. Who knew? Here's a red alert. I want to bring this to everyone's attention. I want to start right now because this is a cybersecurity executive order. DHS is going to regulate the internet. I just want to point out, I've already had one of our participants, in this network that I belong to, has already said, I download everything off the internet so I have a hard copy. He's found way too many links don't work anymore. Things have been removed. Videos are removed. You can download these. So I would recommend that this is one of the strategies that we all take. We start downloading the things we want to keep. Word to the wise. Who'd have thunk that would come to this? This is a very interesting thing. This is the Washington soap opera, and it turns out that a former federal prosecutor, Mary Jo White, used to pursue drug lords and terrorists, left government, became it's the revolving door, huge big shot on Wall Street lawyer defending corporate giants. Gee, let's look at who these are. J.P. Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs. And the fact is now she's looking at being named as the head of the SEC, the regulator head. Is it any wonder the people don't get justice? We will never get justice by depending on this. We need to do our own work and our own effort. Here's another statement of no surprise to anybody that's fighting foreclosure or working against trying to get the servicers to do a loan mod or anything else like that. The Foreclosure Fraud Settlement Monitor says, gee, servicers are dragging their feet. Whoops. Who knew? So, this is the point. The people need to stop this nonsense. We need to stop foreclosures. We need injunctions against the foreclosure mills, the trustees that file foreclosure like Recon Trust, Cal Reconveyance, Index West. I've already named 17 of them on my website. 12 of them are in California. We're going to focus on those at getting injunctions. That's the point, and that's the point today that I'm trying to bring home to roost. So, once you stop that, if they can't foreclose, then maybe we can get some better solutions going down the pike. Here's something else that was submitted to me. Second mortgage loophole allows banksters to satisfy billions of dollars in monetary obligations under foreclosure fraud settlement with, gee, what else? Worthless, crappy paper. This is the point. We already know without the shadow of a doubt, so none of these articles should be of a surprise to anyone, and that is they've got it. They rule this game. It's tic-tac-toe. It's checkmate. We're checkmated. They've already won this game. This is why we have to change the game, and we're going to change the game, and I want to focus on that the rest of this show. But you really got to listen to this, and I want this live streamed into the record so that viewers, I expect we're going to have hundreds of thousands of owners viewing these shows, and I want this kind of show linked and shared out. You got to listen to this. This really says it so well.
Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Paul Jay, coming to you today from New York City. Eve Smith, the creator of nakedcapitalism.com, in a recent blog, wrote about foreclosures, and we've all been reading about people being foreclosed without any proper documentation or any proof they actually owed any money. But some people are being foreclosed who actually haven't missed any payments. Here's what Eve Smith wrote. A significant number of their clients facing foreclosure has made every single payment. She goes on to say, whether by mistake or design, when a borrower gets caught in the servicer hall of mirrors of compounding fees and charges, there's no way to appeal and pretty much no way out. Now, joining us to talk about this type of foreclosure and the whole service industry in this area is Eve Smith, the creator of Naked Capitalism and author of Econ, How Unenlightened Self-Interest Undermined Democracy and Corrupted Capitalism. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for letting me be here.
So talk a bit about this whole mortgage service industry and what role it plays.
Well, the mortgage servicing industry is a creation of this new process we have for doing mortgages called securitization. In the old days of banking, the borrower would go to the bank and get the loan, and the loan would remain with the bank. The change that we've had, which started in the 1980s and has now become the predominant way that at least first mortgages are done, is that you go to the bank, or you might even go to the mortgage broker, and you will get the loan with them, but instead of keeping the loan, they will sell it, and it usually goes not just directly to one party, but it will often go through typically go through a series of parties, and eventually wind up with investors. It winds up in a little legal box called a trust. Now that means somebody has to take care of actually, again, playing some of the role that the bank used to play of collecting the payments. So they're the party that gets the payments, they're the party that credits the payments, and they're the party that takes the cash from all the different people they're dealing with and make sure that it goes to the investors in the proper way that the contract's set up.
Because now the people that now own this pool of mortgages aren't banks that used to have their own credit departments that could go collect the payments. So they got to go hire somebody now to do the collections for them.
Well, in some cases they go that route, but actually if a borrower gets in trouble, they would then, for example, arrange for the loan to be foreclosed upon. So they're actually intermediary companies. They work with a tremendous amount of stuff of this is outsourced. So there's a well-known company called Lender Processing Services that provides a lot of this support to the servicers. The lender processing services would then go hire a foreclosure mill to foreclose. I mean, basically what the servicer would do at a certain point is say, gee, you're really behind, and the servicers tend to alert people that they're behind only very late in the process, where the payments have gotten so large that what's owed is the borrowers are often very surprised if it's because of compounding fees that they're in that position.
Let me get clear now. You've got a company that collects the payments,
That's correct.
Mortgage payments.
From the borrower's perspective, they're the company.
And they
that collects
work
the money.
for the various banks or whoever
They
owns this pool of mortgages now.
Well, they work for the various investors. So the different trusts that where the mortgages actually sit, the trusts hire the servicers.
Right. So why is it in the servicer's interest to push people closer to foreclosure?
Well, some of this is, I think of this as almost being like a doomsday machine. Like they have their little imperatives, and the fact that a foreclosure results isn't something they really care about. You know, their imperative is to keep costs down. Servicers are organized to be very big factories, so all the processes they have are extremely automated. And they have imperatives to maximize fees. Foreclosure happens to be more profitable to them than routine servicing of a loan. So if anything, if somebody gets in trouble, they don't have any incentive to prevent people from getting in trouble. And in fact, they have incentives to get people in trouble. I mean, one of the things that they do, for instance, and this has been repeatedly documented, is that let's say you have a late fee. Now, sometimes these late fees are not bona fide late fees. The servicer might have applied your payment late. Servicers have also been found to hold payments sometimes, to make them late.
So they can
collect late fees, correct. So then what happens is, let's say somebody has, let's just pick a number, say it's $75. The person incurs a late fee. That isn't going to be charged until the next month. The servicer, unlike a credit card, where you get a statement and say you owe a late fee, the borrower doesn't know that they have a late fee. They, the next month, send in their regular payment. Under both federal law and the agreement that the borrower signed, his payment, next month payment, is supposed to go first to the mortgage interest and the mortgage principal. But instead, the servicer will take their fees out first, which makes the second month payment short and in theory late because it wasn't full.
Now so they can charge another penalty.
They can charge another penalty, and the way some of them set it up, they might even charge them 2 fees. Well, then if a borrower has been late twice under the agreement, the investors require them to get something called a broker price opinion, which basically is kind of worthless. But some broker will basically drive by the house and write a broker price opinion. Now, those can range anywhere from $50 to as much as $250.
Now, is the service company making money out of that too?
Sometimes those are inflated and they get kickbacks, but let's just assume that they don't. We're just looking at this from the borrower perspective. They're supposed to charge that $250 to the investor. Many times they have been found to double dip and also charge the borrower. So suddenly
blaming them for missing 2 payments.
And charging them when it's only the investor who's supposed to be paying that, not the borrower. So then suddenly you've got more fees, which has again not been disclosed to this whole thing keeps compounding.
I'm not clear. Why does it become profitable to push into foreclosure then?
When the borrower goes into the foreclosure process, the servicer is permitted to charge additional administrative fees. And those come off the top. All the fees to the servicer come off the top. So the additional work they get compensated for. In addition, when a borrower gets behind on payments, the seriously delinquent, the servicer still has to continue to pay the investors as if the borrower was paying on time. Normally, when you have a borrower get in trouble, in any other type of lending, the first thing the lender says is, gee, what should I do? Should I liquidate the loan? Should I just take what I can get? Or is there some way we can restructure the loan? I'm always better taking a half a loaf. If the borrower has enough income, I will be better served by taking less and restructuring the loan. So the investors would actually prefer that the loans be restructured. However, the servicer is continuing to have to advance principal and interest. The servicers don't get paid for modifying loans. That's not part of these agreements, so that they have no economic incentive to modify the loans. And the only way for them to recoup the money they keep sending to the servicer if the borrower gets in trouble is through the foreclosure, is by taking the house, then they can repay themselves and send whatever's left back to the investor. So all their incentives favor foreclosure. They don't have any incentives favoring modification.
But why is it in the interest of a service company like this to foreclose on someone who hasn't missed a payment?
Well, you can say that it's oftentimes administrative error. But there actually have been documented cases where the servicers came in and basically make up documentation over and over again trying to claim that the person was current.
The person was current?
They were not behind. This is one of the things that's very disturbing, to see these bank executives get up and say, we never make a mistake, our foreclosures are all justified. You can look at, there are literally academics have been writing about this since 1998, about servicer-driven foreclosures, about how whether it's an error and you can't get it straightened out, or it's actually something more malicious, where the bank has an incentive to foreclose.
To get hold of the property.
Well, to get additional fees. It's to get additional fees. That foreclosure is a much more profitable activity.
There's hearings just in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
About this. So is there any legislation either in existence or pending that would deal with this?
No, this really hasn't been addressed. I mean, one of the problems is it's like peeling back an onion. The more and more layers of this sort of peeling back, new problems that have been around but haven't been talked about are being exposed. And the banks have adopted this line that all borrowers are deadbeats. It's much more complicated. Yes, there's a large number of people who've lost their jobs. Some of them got in over their heads. Some of them had other bad things happen, like medical bankruptcies. and they really can't afford their houses. But of the people who are fighting foreclosures, a very significant percentage of them, it's either that they are victims of servicer error and can't get it straightened out, or that they have actually filed for bankruptcy. And in bankruptcy, everybody who is owed money is supposed to wait until the court sorts it out. They keep trying, the servicers keep trying to take the house. They keep trying to break the bankruptcy stay. And a lot of unsophisticated borrowers, or rather unsophisticated lawyers, somebody who might not be familiar, they will make deals with banks, a first deal, the first time the bank tries to do that, that's very unfavorable and makes it easier for the bank to get the house later on. The abuses are much larger than people recognize.
It's a crazy thing because the more they foreclose, the more they depreciate the assets of houses they've already foreclosed on.
Well, that's why we're
which
having
is
such
crazy.
delays. Well, that's the other part, that again, the blame in the media is being assigned the wrong place. One of the things that now places like the Wall Street Journal are writing about is now the average time from when somebody gets seriously in trouble to when they actually are foreclosed upon is 478 days. That's because the banks don't want to actually seize the houses until they can sell them. So they have perverse incentives because they will still have to pay the real estate and real estate taxes and maintain the houses. So on the one hand, they do want to ultimately get the house, but it's the banks themselves that want to draw out the process. Again, it varies by markets. But in a market where they've already got already have a lot of housing inventory, they really don't want to take any more houses right now. It's better for them to keep the borrower in the house, to have the borrower maintain the house, and to have the borrower be on the hook for the real estate taxes.
And then eventually throw them out.
And eventually throw them out, when it's convenient for them.
I think the word perverse is the right word. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.
Well, there you have it.